course, the OKC Thunder, who are the defending NBA champions for another 2 weeks, probably. That's over now. We're gonna have a new champion for the 8th year in a row. The Thunder are down in 7 games. Greg, what kind of grade give the Thunder?
I'll give them a B. I think I would have given them higher had I not watched that series play out. So I think that they have a few more question marks than I think they would have 2 weeks ago. Like the way Chet played for one the entire series, like that's concerning. So I mean, if they had just lost a 7-game series, both teams play well, you say, okay, San Antonio is really good, but like I actually have some questions about how they're going to structure their team going forward. I mean, they're an expensive team, so I mean, they might not have Hartenstein back, they might not have Lou Dort back, and maybe that's okay with Lou Dort because he was really up and down in the series, especially shooting wise. But Jalen Williams' health, I mean, he wasn't healthy all year. Given the injury that he had, I put a lot of that on him. The wrist injury last year, like that's a freak thing, but when you're battling hamstring injuries all year, soft tissue injuries, like I'm looking at diet, training, rehab, preparation.
Yeah, you were critical last week of that.
All that sort of stuff. So I mean, I'm going to put a lot of that on him. So I mean, he's got to prove next year that he's in shape and can return. But I mean, they obviously need him, given what the team looked like without him. I mean, when we talk about the Spurs and the Knicks, I mean, we're going to talk about the Knicks not being tested. I don't know if the Spurs were completely tested either because, they played a team that was basically SGA and no other creators. Right. Jalen Williams wasn't there. AJ Mitchell wasn't there. And Chet totally disappeared. I mean, his performance, not only in the finals last year, where he wasn't great, but then largely for this series outside of Game 5, is concerning given that he's
But could you chalk that up also to the opponent he's facing? Like, and I'm not sitting there and saying, Chet, no, look, we agree. Chet should play better, not a question. 4 points is atrocious. But you're also playing probably right now the best player in basketball.
Yeah, but that's the team that they're going to have to beat, going forward every year. They're going to have to go through them every year. So if he's got some sort of hang up about going up against Wemby, that's not going to get better because
which, by the way, is a real rivalry. Those guys hate each other. They came to the league hating each other. That's a real rivalry.
But Wemby's younger and better, so I mean, like that's not going anywhere. My issue with Chet isn't so much that he scored 4 points; it's that he didn't even apply himself in the game. I look at Alex Caruso. He went 3 for 14. Like that's a terrible game by any measure. But he went out swinging, he went out trying. It's not like he, left any bullets in the chamber, as it were. I mean, I look at Chet and it's like without Williams, without J-Dub, without AJ Mitchell,
right?
SGA, who had a phenomenal game in Game 7, like he stepped up to the occasion. He needed someone to help him. They needed someone else to come along for the ride. And considering you're about to, start your max extension, not applying yourself, not even trying to be part of the equation, even if it's just taking 5 threes and you miss all 5 of them and you finish 2 of 9 or 2 of 10, at least go out there and try. And look, Evan Mobley had a similar issue in the series, I want to say against the Knicks, so he was like 5 of 8 in the first half and didn't take a shot in the second half. But we're all different there is that he had Mitchell, he had Harden. You have 2 guys dominating the ball, and then they're looking to get threes out of Sam Merrill, out of Max Strus. Like,
right.
Oklahoma City didn't have any of that. They needed someone. Case and Wall stepped up, which was good. But I mean, they needed their second, of their big 3, they needed their second guy to step up, and he didn't even, it wasn't that he played poorly. It's that he didn't really apply himself. So that to me is more concerning than if he had just gone 3 for 14 like Alex Caruso did.
When you say concern about the Thunder, for example, like you're concerned more about how they stack up against San Antonio. That's the only gate in the way of them getting back to where they were last year. Because everybody else in the league, I think they're better than that.
Yeah, but this is the worst version of San Antonio that you're going to see.
Yeah, right.
Because exactly. all these young guys are not only going to get better, but they still.
I'm not saying no other team other than San Antonio is better than LKC.
Yeah. True.
Okay.
True. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, this is the obstacle standing in their way because San Antonio has all their assets still as well. It's not like they had to purge everything to put this team together. Like, yes, a lot of it is lottery luck, but some of that's also like when they got Dylan Harper, they had 2 cracks at it. They had the Hawks pick, they had their own pick. So they had, 2 lottery combinations that could have gotten them there. One of them hit. So, I mean, they played some odds and it worked out well for them. They tanked for Wemby. Right. That worked out well for them. Obviously, with the Castle draft, they needed a bunch of teams to pass on him. But look, that's good drafting.
That's good drafting, good scouting.
Yeah, but it's not like they had to trade a whole bunch of picks to get any of these guys. So they still are loaded with assets and contracts and whatnot. Your Harrison Barnes of the world and so on and so forth. So I mean, like, this team's not getting worse. And look, OKC's got plenty of assets too. They've got the second most available picks to trade in the entire league. So I mean, it's not as if they don't have assets to move. But if you're looking at this series and you're panicking, and I'm not saying they should, but if you're panicking after this series, Chet is not, like, if you look at Giannis, for example, and say,
just gonna get there. We do this a long time now. I think we get each other now. You know where you're going with this.
But the thing is, like, if I'm Milwaukee and I just saw the way Chet played in that series, like, I'm not interested in that deal. And then if you're OKC, why am I giving up Chet and then 3 or 4 first-round picks to make that deal? Like, that at that point, I'm just giving up too much for a guy who's past 30 and injury-prone, and now you're shortening your window.
It's amazing. Go ahead.
But they are in sort of this, like, a little bit of a murky area where it's like the way Chet played gives me some pause going forward, and that's why I gave him a B, because if you had asked me before the series started, I'm like, there's no way that even if they lose this series, they're going to be anything but an A or an A minus. You just chalk it up to the injuries and you move on. But, like, I'm a little concerned about Chet and how he played.
It's one thing that if Jalen Williams was there and he scores 4 points, okay, you can still make up the ground because of Jalen Williams being there. But when Jalen was not there, you're now number 2. You got to step up. You got to step up. You got to show something. As you said, empty the barrel of your gun. And he didn't do any of that, and then some.
And I don't even mind if he plays poorly. Like, if he shoots 3 for 14 like Caruso did, it's like, okay, he had a bad game. So
he was frustrated. Obviously, it's clear he was frustrated.
Wemby's really good, but for him to not even give an effort to try and be that second guy with SGA carrying the entire load, and then you have Case and Wallace, the only guy that really stepped up, mainly in the fourth quarter. It's like that's a tough sell for a guy who's about to start like a 5-year, $290 million
right,
or whatever it is.
So I've seen it.
He can't guard Wemby, and that's the team they need to go through. So I mean, like, they have some questions now that I don't think were present a week ago. And I know they struggled against San Antonio in the regular season, but I don't necessarily chalk the regular season up to much because different guys are in and out of the lineup, so it's not as big a deal. But with everything on the line, I think that there are a few question marks, which is why I gave him a B.
Right. So I'm seeing a pattern here, and it's now it's a 5-year sample, and it's going to kind of like make sense. Obviously we talked about earlier about the fact that we're going to have a new NBA champion for the 8th year in a row, right? Mm-hmm. I'm going to go back to 2021, right? 2021, the Bucks won the title, right?
Yeah.
What was the conversation around Milwaukee when the Bucks won? They'll get another one probably, or maybe 2, because Giannis is at top of his game, blah, blah, blah. And we also base it not only on the internal of the team and the player they have, but the external in terms of the environment. There's no one that's we see on level, at least for the next year or 2, to compete. And then they don't get there. The Warriors get there in 2022, right? They revamp the roster. Steph is whole again. Clay's great, da-da-da. They bring Wiggins, all that. Ooh, they're pretty good. They may win on the title. It's all said and done. That doesn't happen. We go to 2023. Denver and Jokic is in his climb. And we say, oh, this core of Jokic and Murray and Aaron Gordon and Michael Porter Jr., they got to win at least another title, right? And then Minnesota clips in the next year in the playoffs, right? Then we go to Boston. Boston finally gets to the mountaintop, right? Tatum and Brown, probably the best duo in basketball. They just win it again. And we all said this too. They win another one, at least one more. When it's all said and done. That doesn't happen. You go to last year. The Thunder has been on this ascent. Building ascent. Draft picks, assets, blah, blah, blah. Young enough. And they're just winning 6 games per year. They finally get next year. With them with the Thunder, even bigger than all these teams we just mentioned, this team could win the next 3 or 4. Once and done. Because we didn't think San Antonio's climb would be this quick. We thought maybe 1 more year. You and I agreed. They're a top 6 team in the Western Conference.
Yeah.
We agreed to that, right? Remember?
Yeah.
But I don't think they're ready to beat the Nuggets just yet. And not because of Wemby. It's because of the other pieces. Are they ready to elevate? Because remember, they're young. Oh, no. I think San Antonio's the right answer. And here's why. None of those guys, I mean, at the stages when they won the titles, because pertaining to Curry, Jokic, Giannis, Tatum Brown, of course, none of them are Wemby.
Yeah.
None of them are Wemby. Wemby is special in comparison to everybody else. Say Steph Curry only. And I say Steph Curry because Steph Curry won that was his late title. Maybe if we're talking about Steph Curry 2015, different conversation. I think Wemby is the correct answer. Now, obviously, they're going to win this year first before we have the conversation. But my point is, there's a pattern brewing here.
Yeah.
You know, with teams we think, oh, there's a window. And, oh, wait, someone leapfrogs them. I think San Antonio's the right answer, really, if we think about it. Because we've all been saying it's a matter of Wemby, because we know Wemby's ceiling is the greatest of all time. We've been saying that.
But also, like, we look at Wemby, like, yes, he could be the MVP for 5, 6, however many.
My point exactly.
Years. But he's got to stay healthy. You know, like Jason Tatum.
That's the one. That's the rub.
Jason Tatum tore his Achilles, and that's, you know, what derails Boston. Like, Wemby seems like a guy, given his size, who could get hurt. You know, he's, missed games before in his career. So, I mean, he's got to stay healthy. And if he stays healthy, then San Antonio's, they're set forever. But, it's a physical game. It's a long season. It's a long playoffs. Teams are gonna learn, I think, from these playoffs and play him a certain way going forward. And, we'll see if, he takes that physicality and stays healthy and all that. But you're right. I mean, on paper, the way it looks now, I mean, defensive player of the year and MVP, you can just pencil him in for the next 5 to 8 years.
Yeah, at least.
But you listed all those other teams. A lot of them had circumstances too for why they didn't. So,
well, the Wemby circumstance will be the injuries because what we saw. Here's what's crazy about the game 7. By the way, I'll get to the grade for the Thunder in a second. Wemby didn't play that great on Saturday night. He had an okay game. He scored 22.
Yeah, 22. I believe.
Okay, that's not typical Wemby. That's below his numbers across the board. What was the difference in that game between the Spurs and Thunder? The other pieces elevated.
Yeah.
Those core pieces we're going to see for the next 5 to 8 years. The Castles and Harper, of course, that maturity there you saw. That's a difference because Wemby now is elevating guys in ways that you can't put on a stat sheet. That's the difference with Wemby. That's the stuff that Jordan did, to some extent LeBron did in their peak. They're elevating guys to play past their potential because of how good they are. It elevates other guys around them. And that's what Wemby's doing now this is his third year in the league. So that's why the difference I saw on Saturday. Having said that, in terms of letter grade, I have a hard time going lower than a B+, but higher than A-, because you have to bake in the finish. We also have to bake in the fact that they still had the best record in basketball, where Jalen Williams missed two-thirds of the season. That has to. That's why people text me in the game. Oh, SGA should win MVP. Bullshit. SGA was the MVP. Okay, because he didn't have Jalen Williams for most of the year. His sidekick, and there's something to be said that if Jalen Williams is healthy in this series, we may get a different result. Maybe, I don't know. Now, based on how it played out, I say no because even when he did play, they lost all the games he played. Well, game 2, but game 2 he was out in the first quarter, I think. Well, second quarter maybe. So I don't even count that. But there's something to be said that if Jalen Williams and AJ Mitchell were healthy throughout the series, and San Antonio was relatively healthy most of the series, other than not having Fox for game 1, I think was. We might get a different result, right? Do you think? Do you feel that way too, or you think Spurs still would have won this thing?
Yeah, 2 things. One, I think that if AJ Mitchell and Jalen Williams were healthy, I think OKC definitely would have won the series because there was nobody else that could create outside of SGA. So it was just too much of a load on him to carry for a 7-game series. That's one. And 2, I think if anything, this series magnifies why SGA should have been MVP.
Thank you.
Because you look at the way Chet played, you look at not having Jalen Williams. If anything, you say, oh, they won 62 games without having Jalen Williams pretty much the entire season. And this is what they looked like against a really good team. It was SGA and nobody else to win 62 games. And it's a regular season award. I think that really solidifies the fact that he was MVP. Now, again, going forward, it's going to be Wemby's to lose.
Of course.
But for this specific season, I don't think you can really argue with SJ's MVP this year.
I'm going to go A- because I have to give credit to OKC. And again, the circumstances didn't play that way. And by the way, I'm a little surprised no one's talking about the injuries either with Jalen Williams and AJ Mitchell. I'm a little surprised by that. And I think maybe because of the fact that they figured what they saw in Game 3 with the bench scored 74 points. That okay, that's what we expected. No, that's an anomaly.
But I'm looking at it now like, is Jalen Williams, is he going to have an injury-prone tag on him?
That's my question. I agree with you.
Because this is now 2 years in a row that he's battled some kind of injury. And the reason why I went B is because it's like, okay, I know that you have a top 3 player at worst in the league in SGA. If you're figuring Jokic and Wemby in whatever order you want to put them in. So, like, you have an amazing player. But Chet, I have questions about. And I could ask those same questions about Jalen Williams, not about his talent, but just about his ability to stay healthy and stay on the court. So, like, that concerns me about Jalen Williams, and something else concerns me with Chet, But I mean, you have 3 max players. 1 you feel amazing about, and 2 I've got some questions about. So, I mean, I don't know that it's as clear cut as just, this trio is going to lead us to a dynasty, because like you said, we thought all those other teams were going to get multiple championships, and I could start asking questions about this nucleus that I might not have been asking before. So, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to break it up or anything like that. But I mean,
ask you that.
If you're Sam Presti, you are at least going to look at the way it's constructed and say, what do we have to do to this roster to improve it? I mean, I don't think it's it's definitely not a Giannis.
So Greg, let me ask you then. You're Sam Presti right now. Okay. You're Sam Presti. We're the GM hat for a second. Mm-hmm. You're now entering this offseason. See what happened this year. Do you panic and you make the big move for Giannis or another big piece and shorten your window in some ways? Or do you keep the core together that won a title last year and has won 6 games 3 years in a row and just make ancillary moves around that?
Yeah, that's what they're going to wind up doing. I mean,
no. What would you do? I'm saying, forget what he might do.
Oh no, I would do the same thing as what he would do.
Ancillary pieces. You stick with these young guys, right?
But I would say, like, I would try and see if I could go get a Trey Murphy from New Orleans. I wouldn't say that's an ancillary piece. I would say that's a big piece, but that's not like Giannis. That's not like, it's not like you're trying to go get Donovan Mitchell or Giannis or some, Evan Mobley or, one of those guys. I would say a Trey Murphy, a guy who can stretch the floor and shoot threes. Because I think what this series showed is that they had a, dramatic lack of shooting.
Yes, it did. It did.
Without AJ Mitchell and Jalen Williams, they needed another guy who you could reliably put on the perimeter so that when SGA gave up the ball, somebody else might be able to make a shot. So, I mean, what were they in the last game? 12 of 35 shooting. I think they shot 34% from 3. I mean, like, that wasn't going to be enough to beat San Antonio, who had 17 threes and who has Wemby on their team in addition to that. So, I think that the big move for them would be a guy like Trey Murphy, but it's more likely that they're just adding around the perimeter.
I think
just running it back.
Yeah, I think getting a Giannis is for a team like OKC, bro. Unless you're convinced that Chet can't come back from this, I mean, let's forget he did make third All NBA team this year. Let's not act like that sucks. He's had a bad series. Okay, so maybe the issue is that he didn't play one big series. Okay, and there's something to be said about that. But it's not like Chet sucks all of a sudden now. Chet made All NBA team this year, 3rd team. And Jalen Williams, my thing is, if you think that Chet can't come back from this, number one. And number two, to your point, is Jalen Williams especially now on that tag of, he's really good, But like Anthony Davis, can't stay healthy. Then maybe you go down those waters. Otherwise, you can't buy a core like this who've now played together for I think 3 years, technically 3 years, because Chet, first full year was 2 years ago. That you can't buy that. You can't just out of thin air. You got to run the core as long as you can. Because and not only that, with Giannis, I'll say it again, and you and I agree on this. Mm-hmm. You getting Giannis, it's good for the short term. Giannis ain't getting better. And Giannis it's not going to fall a lot faster than you realize.
It's never been Sam Presti's way to shorten a window. He's always looking at ways to extend the window. So I feel like by going after Giannis, you're basically taking what was a limitless window with all the picks and assets and whatnot that they have.
It's a panic move.
Now he's going to be crunching it down to 2 years, essentially. That doesn't seem like something that they would do. And it doesn't seem like a smart thing to do either. Like, I could see why Miami would make that move, but
that's different. They're in a different situation. They're a little bit older.
Yeah.
OKC and San Antonio have the same window. They're in the same window. They really are. Yeah. The big difference, though, is that San Antonio has that generational guy next door. Outside of that, they're fine. They're right there.
Yeah.
So maybe they're just a piece away, another tweak to beating the Spurs.
Yeah, but
that's all I'm saying.
The issue is that I think that Dylan Harper is a generational player too, and that's what's
if he lifts now, and because he's the Jalen Williams of that team.
Because I mean, he looks like James Harden who can play defense. So I mean, maybe he's not going to be able to shoot the three as well as James Harden, has.
Yeah. Anyway,
not that James Harden's ever been like a 42% 3-point shooter,
right?
But I look at him as a guy who is strong. He's tough. He can get once he gets in the paint. He can score from anywhere on the floor, basically, and this is the worst he's going to be, given that he's a rookie. So
right, and very mature too, for the record. That little run where like Castle got fouled and he started reacting, and Harper really said, "Yo, chill out. We're in a game 7." That's maturity. That's that. So,